Yesterday, we introduced the idea of plate tectonics, these huge shifting chunks of rock that the Earth's crust is made up of. As you know, the Earth's crust does not all look the same. We have high parts of the Earth and low parts of the Earth, and today we're going to look at 6 vocabulary words that describe those different parts of the Earth. And all of these are formed because of movements along those plate boundaries. After we finish today's notes, you'll need to go ahead and complete the crossword puzzle for a grade. This crossword puzzle uses all the vocabulary words that are on this page of notes, and then it also goes back and reviews those 4 layers of the Earth that we studied as well. Just like yesterday, remember that the new information will be in a red box and it will be written in red. And feel free to pause the video if you need more time to copy the word down and spell it. So we're going to look at 6 different types of landforms, meaning ways that the land looks, that come from these plate boundaries. The first landform is called a mountain, M-O-U-N-T-A-I-N. And it is simply a high, steep landform that is formed when convergent plates push together. So we have 2 plates that are coming towards one another, as you can see here, and they form these high mountains. This is specifically the Himalaya mountains that are the tallest in the world, and that's how they're formed. The second landform is called a volcano, V-O-L-C-A-N-O. And just like a mountain, it is tall, high, and steep, usually. But the difference is that with a volcano, it has this vent down the middle, and that is where magma from the Earth's crust can get from underneath the Earth's surface can get pushed up through. So that vent is formed when one plate is pushed under another one. So here's an example of that. We have a plate coming here and a plate coming here, and one is getting pushed underneath one another, and it creates this hot spot that forms a volcano. This volcano that's in this picture right here is called Krakatoa, and you'll actually read more about it in a TruthLooks reading book assignment this Friday. It's a pretty fascinating story. The third landform is called a trench, and it is basically a deep, narrow opening that's formed when one plate is pushed under another. Trench, T-R-E-N-C-H. And if you take a look at a trench, most of them are underneath the ocean, is where they usually occur. And the same picture that we had a volcano occurring here, the trench is right here next to it. So when one plate is pushed underneath another, it forms this long, deep trench. Our fourth landform is called a rift valley. 2 separate words, rift, R-I-F-T, valley, V-A-L-L-E-Y. The word rift means to be divided. In fact, you might have heard friends talking about having a rift between one another. It means they were divided. They had an argument where they separated. And a rift valley is similar to a trench in the fact that it's a deep, narrow opening. But it forms differently than a trench. A trench forms when one plate gets pushed underneath another as they come together. A rift valley forms when those plates are actually moving apart from one another and they leave this opening or gap. So you can see here the rift valley, oftentimes they do end up filling up with water because they're much lower than the land around them. Here's a perfect example of a rift valley. This one is in Africa, so it's kind of dry and it just has a river running through it. But you can see that the 2 plates are moving apart from one another and they just create this low area of land. The next landform is called a mid-ocean ridge. And the word mid, M-I-D, that's a prefix that means the middle, and then ocean, that is hyphenated, and then ridge is like a line of mountains. So the definition of a mid-ocean ridge is a line of underwater mountains that are formed by divergent plates. So here's a picture of how those form. The plates are pulling apart and magma is coming up here and it's hardening and it creates these jagged ridges. Now, most of these, as you can tell, they're underneath the ocean. So it's not something we can easily just take a picture of. So here's a computer generated one, as well as an artist's rendering of what a mid-ocean ridge might look like. The last landform we're going to look at is called a fault line, and you can see it running right here. A fault line is a crack on the Earth's surface, and it's caused by plates that are sliding past each other. So it has two words, fault, F-A-U-L-T, and then space, line, L-I-N-E. And a fault line looks like this. This is along a transform boundary where the plates are sliding past one another, and you can actually see this crack that creates along the Earth's surface. Some of them are not as obvious as they are in this picture. Sometimes you can't see them right from the surface of the Earth, but the idea is that it's creating this crack or gap. And earthquakes happen commonly or frequently happen along these fault lines. Now that we've looked at those 6 vocabulary words, you've learned a lot of words just in the last 2 days. So here's your word bank of all of those words. Go ahead and use your notes as well as last week's, or your notes on layers of the Earth from a couple weeks ago as well, if you need to go ahead and complete your crossword assignment. And again, this is a graded assignment for today.